1. The quiet dreamer Aria sat on the windowsill of her cramped apartment in the bustling heart of the city, watching evening lights bloom like tiny fireflies below. She clutched a worn notebook to her chest, its pages filled with carefully practiced English sentences. Hello, my name is Aria. I am learning to speak English. Today I will try again. Every line was a reminder of her dream, to speak freely, to be understood, to belong. Born in a small rural town where English was as foreign as the airplanes that occasionally traced silver lines across the sky, Aria grew up listening to stories of opportunity whispered by radio announcers and television hosts. She'd learned early that the world beyond her town spoke a language she didn't yet know. At school, the other children seemed to leap over English words with ease, making jokes Aria couldn't grasp, and leaving her feeling an outsider in her own classroom. Her parents wanted the best for her. Her mother sewed colorful quilts for tourists. Her father hammered out woodworking masterpieces for passing travelers. They worked hard so Aria could attend the city's better schools, where English classes were offered. But every Monday morning, when the teacher wrote a new vocabulary list on the board, adventure, possibility, confidence, Aria's heart thudded with fear. Each word felt mountainous, its meaning just out of reach. She copied the list diligently, but when it came time to speak, her voice shrank until it was barely a whisper. At home that night, as her parents rested from a day's labor, Aria practiced in secret. She closed her eyes and recited, I am not afraid. I will speak. I can learn. Yet, when she opened her mouth the next morning, the words tangled together, ashamed to escape. So Aria stayed silent, and with every passing day, her dream of speaking English threatened to fade. A chance encounter one rainy afternoon, under a canopy of umbrellas in the school courtyard, Aria dropped her notebook. As she bent to pick it up, a voice clear and gentle said, "Let me help you." She looked up to see a boy about her age, drenched from the rain, holding out her notebook. His name was Sam, and his warm smile seemed to hold no judgment. Sam was a newcomer too. His family had moved from across the ocean, and English was a puzzle he was also slowly piecing together. They ran to the shelter of the school entrance, shared the coarse pages of her notebook, and laughed when a few raindrops fell onto the ink, smudging a word or two. Sam pointed at the smudge and teased, "Well, now that word has an adventure of its own." Aria giggled, genuine, rangy laughter that she hadn't heard from herself in months. Over the next weeks, Sam and Aria sat together during breaks. He spoke haltingly, pronouncing words with a heavy accent. She listened, offering shy corrections. When Sam missed a word, Aria whispered the correct one, and Sam responded with enthusiasm that warmed her heart. Suddenly, Aria's classroom vocabulary lists became collaborations. They quizzed each other on bravery, persistence, belief. One day, Sam asked, "Will you practice with me after school?" Aria's heart pounded. She wanted to say yes, but fear flickered behind her eyes. I'll try," she stammered. That try was a promise, one she was determined to keep. Small steps, big courage. Their after-school sessions began in the quiet school library. At first, their voices were low, shy as mice. They read children's books, simple sentences, about friendly animals and magical forests, taking turns on each page. Arya's lips trembled as she sounded out each word, but with Sam's patient encouragement, she started to trust her tongue. As days passed, they moved on to more challenging passages, short news articles, poems, even a children's play. Arya's confidence grew with every correct sentence. Sam cheered her on each time she conquered a tricky phrase: responsibility, environment, confidence. But confidence is a fragile thing. One crisp morning, the teacher announced, "Next week we'll have a class presentation in English. Each of you will speak for 2 minutes." A collective groan rippled through the room. Arya's heart seized. 2 minutes? In English? Speaking in front of her classmates, some friendly, many curious, was unthinkable. She stared at her desk, fingers white around her pen. That evening at home, Arya's mother noticed her daughter's tense shoulders. Gently, she asked, "What's wrong, Beta?" Arya explained between tears. Her mother brushed back Arya's hair and said, "When I first came to this country, I could not speak your father's language. I was scared to speak, but I wanted to tell people who I was, to make friends for you. So I spoke, even when my voice shook." She paused, searching Arya's eyes. "You have learned so much. This is your chance to show that." Arya nodded, feeling the weight of her mother's story settle beside her own fears. The first audience. The next day, Arya and Sam practiced their speeches after school. Sam went first, his voice quivering only once before finding its rhythm. Arya watched, him heart-thumping. Then her turn came. She closed her eyes for a moment, pictured her mother's kind face, and began. "Hello, everyone. My name is Arya. I come from a small town. I love learning new things." Her voice was soft, but clear. She spoke of her favorite book, of how she found courage in each new word. When she finished, there was a pause, then applause. Her smile dazzled in that moment. On presentation day, Arya sat on the edge of her seat, knees bouncing. Sam patted her hand under the desk. One by one, classmates delivered their speeches. Finally, Arya stood. The lights felt bright, faces blurred. She took a breath and recalled her private practice, recalling every word she'd rehearsed. "Good morning," she began, and in that instant, fear dissolved into purpose. She spoke of her journey, the small town where she first heard English, the terrible fear of opening her mouth, the friend who helped her believe in herself. Her voice faltered only once when she said, "Today, I am not afraid to speak." For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then the class cheered. Arya's eyes brimmed with tears, not of shame, but of triumph. After class, classmates congratulated her. "You were so brave." "I could barely understand you, but I loved your story. You inspired me." Arya's cheeks burned with happiness. She had found her voice. A ripple of change word of Arya's courage spread through the school. English teachers asked her to read recommended stories aloud for younger classes. Students invited her to practice conversation during lunch breaks. Even the principal commended her in the morning assembly. Arya has shown us all that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Emboldened, Arya decided to join the school's drama club. The next production was a short play entirely in English. Heart-pounding, she auditioned for the lead role. Her hands shook as she delivered her lines, but she felt alive. Every word, a step forward. When cast in the part, she embraced the challenge. For the rehearsals, she poured her heart into learning not just the lines, but the emotion behind them. On opening night, the auditorium was full. Arya stepped onto the stage, lights dazzling, audience hushed. Then she spoke her first line. In every whispered fear, there lies a hidden strength. Her voice rang out, filled with emotion. She embodied her character's hopes, her dreams, her struggles, each phrase a testament to her own journey. The audience wept, laughed, cheered. When the final curtain fell, the applause was thunderous. Arya bowed, tears of joy streaming down her face. Backstage, she found Sam, who hugged her. Tight. You did it, he whispered. You really did it. Beyond the stage, with every performance, every speech, Arya's world widened. She joined an online pen pal group, exchanging messages with students from around the globe. She volunteered at the local library, reading storybooks to children. She even began writing short stories in English, weaving tales of hope and friendship, of fear overcome. Her parents watched in awe. Her mother wept the first time she heard Arya reading one of her own stories aloud. I never imagined this, her father said, his voice thick with emotion, that you would not only learn English, but make it your own. Yet despite her successes, Arya never forgot the trembling fear she'd once felt. She knew many others, still heard English as an insurmountable wall, so she started a small club called Speak Today, inviting classmates to join safe, supportive practice sessions. There were no grades, no judgments, just laughter, encouragement, and shared growth. In their first meeting, only 3 students showed up. By the 10th, 20 were crammed into the classroom, each with dreams whispering behind their shyness. Arya welcomed them all. This is your chance, she told them. Today is the day. You start speaking English. One by one, each member stood and introduced themselves. Their voices shook at first, then grew stronger. By the end, the room buzzed with possibility. The heart's language. Years later, Arya stood on the stage of a large auditorium, about to receive an award for community service. She looked out at the sea of faces, students she had helped, teachers who had supported her, friends who had believed in her. She closed her eyes for a moment, recalling the frightened girl who once refused to speak a single English sentence in class. When she opened her eyes, she saw hope reflected in every eye. She stepped up to the microphone and spoke simply, from her heart. Language is more than words. It is the bridge that connects us, the song that carries our stories, the light that banishes fear. If you have ever wanted to speak, but thought you could not, Start today. Say hello. Ask a question. Share a story. Your voice matters. The world needs to hear it. The applause that followed was not just for Arya, but for every voice that dared to speak. In that moment, she realized that teaching others to speak English was her greatest joy and her greatest purpose. Your turn. Start speaking English. Today, Arya's journey began with trembling whispers and stammered sentences. It grew through small steps, reading a children's book, delivering a class presentation, performing on stage, and flourished into a movement that changed lives. And it all started the day she decided to speak, no matter how uncertain her voice sounded. If you have ever dreamed of speaking English, of sharing your thoughts, making new friends, opening doors to opportunity, remember Arya's story. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a flawless accent. All you need is the courage to say the first word. Hello. Today is the day. Find a friend, a teacher, or even a mirror. Speak those words you've practiced in silence. Laugh at mistakes. Cherish each new phrase. Because with every word you speak, you build confidence. You build bridges. You build your future.